I was always astonished by the lack of women in the room. Sadly, we still have, I think it's 86% of all equity investment in the UK going to all male founding teams. It was so easy to fill a room with female founders. AI is kind of pattern recognition again, isn't it? So you would probably find worse gender bias. Our diversity target is 30% men.
Hey everyone, this is Prashant and I'll be your host for the VC 10X podcast. And today we have Sarah Turner with us. Sarah, the founder of Angel Academe, is on a mission to bring more women into the world of startups, both as investors and founders. What started as an observation about the lack of women in investment rooms has grown into a thriving community of over 1,000 investors with a diversity target of 30% men. In this episode, we'll hear Sarah's incredible story from the challenges of building this ecosystem to the shocking realities of funding disparities in the VC world. We'll also delve into the future of investing, the impact of AI, and what it really takes to succeed as an entrepreneur. So without wasting any time, let's dive straight in. This episode is sponsored by my own podcasting agency called Podcast 10X, where I help venture capitalists, asset managers, allocators, and family offices in starting their own podcast and building a strong brand. Podcast 10X is designed in a way to work well with the busy schedule of investors, where we handle every aspect of podcast production so you can focus on investing. If you're looking to build a strong investor brand, starting a podcast should be right up your priority list. It's the only form of marketing where you can showcase your strong network, in other words, access to limited partners and founders, and grow that network further. And contrary to what most people hear, it's still very early to start a podcast. There are at least 10x more newsletters and 1000x more blogs than there are podcasts in this world. You can learn more about our podcasting services at podcast10x.com. I'll make sure to add the link in the description below. Enjoy this episode. Hey Sarah, so good to have you on the VC 10X podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you?
Very well, thank you. So to start things off, tell us about the story of launching Angel Academe in 2014 and what was your aha moment to start it?
So in 2014, I've been doing some angel investing for a couple of years. Prior to that, I was always astonished by the lack of women in the room. It was mostly men. They mostly didn't know what to make of me, and they'd be steering towards kind of typically female businesses, even though that wasn't my background. My background was in tech, and it just got me wondering, why aren't more women doing this? It's great fun. It's a really good way to use your expertise. So I started sort of thinking about an angel group for female investors from then, and also parallel challenge. There weren't very many female founders coming to these angel groups, and if they did come and present, they didn't typically do very well, often kind of misunderstood either personally or their business. So I thought I could try and do something about that as well.
Absolutely, that's quite an interesting story. And fast forward to now, you have grown it to over 1,000 investors, and 70% of which are women.
Yes.
And so tell us about that story of growing this entire thing,
Yeah.
from a place where it was not commonplace that, okay, women are investing into startups and even at the workplace even, right? So how did you make that happen, and what were the challenges in that process?
Okay, yeah, it's been a long and challenging journey, but I always say at this point that our diversity target is 30% men. We have lots of great men investing with us, and none of this is about keeping men out. We love to involve men, but just supporting more women. So we have over 1,000 registered investors with us, but typically there are about 100 that are active at any one time, because people come and go. They're waiting for an exit once they've deployed all their funds, etc. You know how it works. So it's quite clubby. We tend to know each other and work well together. And really growing it to that number. It's taken a lot of time, taken a lot of persistence, a lot of conversations, to get that list of 1,000. I've probably spoken to 10, 20,000 people over time, through podcasts like this, events, individuals, meeting friends of friends. Kind of banging the drum for this for a long time.
Absolutely, yeah. It has to be quite an hustle to get to where you have, right? Walk us through your investment screening process. What signals do you look for in startups beyond just technology?
Okay, so the technology is always of interest. That's where we're predominantly investing. But really, the thing we're looking into very carefully is the team. It's all about the team. What have they done before? What are they bringing to the table? What are the dynamics between the team members? Um, Honesty and integrity is important to us as well. So if they're kind of, vague and obfuscating anyway, it doesn't really land well with us. We want people to trust us in the same way that we can trust them. We've got to believe what they're saying in their very ambitious forecasts and things. Obviously, dynamic people, tenacious people, they're often very charismatic and convincing, and those are great signals if they can convince us, a bunch of fairly skeptical investors who've seen thousands of businesses. Then they're likely to be able to attract the top talent they need, but also other investors, customers, and so on. And then, people who are going to be able to do a lot with a little, not kind of immediately go out and spend all the money on extravagant things. They need to be looking after our money as if it were their own. So those are the kind of things. We do look quite carefully at market size. Is this a market that, is reasonably easily accessible and can sustain a growing business? What's the competition look like? But it always really comes back to the team.
Absolutely, yeah. That's quite interesting. And you've also bagged a lot of female founders and continue to do so. When you're doing that, are there any special considerations you have to make while investing in female founders? Do you think it's different from investing in male founders? And are there any things that need to be kept in mind uh, to ensure the success of female founders as well?
Um, yeah, I mean, there are certainly differences, but none of this is about lowering the bar. We're extremely picky, and actually, women are very thorough in their due diligence. So getting us over the line is quite an accomplishment. But I do think, you know, there's no escaping the fact that we're wired slightly differently. Maybe women have a different communication style. They're less comfortable with the extreme hubris that a lot of men are able to exhibit. And of course, I'm making huge generalizations because, there are men that are quiet and modest as well. But, you look at the successful, they talk such a big game. And yes, you've got to be ambitious and visionary, but I think, women tend to be just a bit more grounded in realism. And I think a lot of male investors, certainly in traditional VCs, they're looking for that kind of really high risk tolerance. They say the 90% risk of failure for the 10% risk of 100 million. I think men are kind of able to channel that a bit more effectively sometimes than women are. But you look at the fundamentals of the business, I think the female founder businesses are often the better ones. They've achieved more, they've got further. Um, but it's quite surface. Does that make
Absolutely, yeah.
sense? Does that resonate with what you're seeing at all?
Absolutely. I do think that my take is that obviously women are different than men. I would not say they're the same. They're obviously different. But I do think there are advantages to that as well
Yeah.
than it's not like, okay, one is better than the other. It's just that they're different and can be better at different things. And women are seen to be better at certain things that men don't do as well, right? So it can be management. I've seen women that are more sincere, but not to get into generalization, but I've seen those things, right? They have more empathy versus their male counterparts. So there are things I would say there are advantages. And we've also seen, I think data also backs it, that female founders have returned a good bunch of capital, and it's highly a good asset class to invest into female founders,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
It's a good investment mandate. So yeah, totally.
Yeah. Yeah. And we can often identify really good ones because that there's other people aren't looking for them. So there's no shortage
Absolutely.
of good opportunities, and they're often overlooked in this very skewed marketplace.
Very true, very true. And the numbers say exactly that, that only 3% of VC funding goes to female founders, right?
Yeah.
Uh, that number is not something you're proud of. I think that's something that all of us in the industry need to be working on to consistently improve. You're doing a great job of it, but I think even investors who don't have a dedicated focus on female founders should at least have a dedicated focus on trying to source female founders,
Yeah,
or getting female executives into workplaces or
exactly.
into senior roles, right?
Yeah,
Because that's where you get the experience to be a founder one day, right? So I think that needs to happen, and I've seen some investors that are putting in that dedicated effort to, specifically putting human workforce to, source specifically female founders, high quality female founders. That's
yeah,
happening. It's out there.
yeah,
And I think representation plays a big role in that too. If you see an investor that's also female, the same gender as you, looks the same, feels the same, I think you're more open to interacting with them or pitching them your
absolutely,
startup,
absolutely.
your
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, we were
So
we were overwhelmed by the number of female founders that came forward when we first started talking about Angel Academy. Because I thought, oh, there's not going to be very much deal flow. I knew some female founders, but not that many. But it's so easy to fill a room with female founders. Actually, the challenge for us has always been building the investor piece. So yeah, and I think that proposition of being able to speak to other women, not just the usual room full of men, was very attractive and still is attractive.
absolutely, I completely agree, and that is the reason why I see a lot of firms that are, as they are maturing, VC firms, they're starting to add women founders,
Yeah,
women partners, sorry,
yeah,
and that adds that angle that, okay, if a female founder is pitching them, they might be having more comfort in speaking to a female partner versus a male partner. So the quality of conversation can vary there, and the detail you can get into that conversation is can also vary.
yeah,
So that's there, and that also is the same point for even startups as well, startup teams, where if you have a female in the founding team, it can be a co-founding team or just a founding team. I think they add a unique perspective. We always say, investors say that co-founders should have complementary skill sets, right?
yes,
And I think a great way to do that is by adding the opposite gender as well to the founding team, because that's going to give you a different worldview altogether. Because women and men view the world differently. They have different habits, different ways of doing things, right?
yeah,
And if you have that representation, it's good for you and it's good for the team you're going to build. You're going to hire someone and they see that, okay, there is a woman in the founding team, an adequate woman in the founding team, that's going to make them more comfortable in joining you
yeah. I mean,
versus
I
someone
I
else.
think the data certainly bears that out. That female founders go on to hire twice as many women in their business, but sadly, we still have. I think it's 86% of all equity investment in the UK going to all male founding teams. So, great that you're saying this stuff, but actually it's not what's being done in the in the real world, isn't it? Investors are still comfortable seeing all male founding teams, regardless of the sector they're operating in. Even in femtech, you know, male only teams are getting funded more than mixed gender or female teams, which is staggering, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there are biases. I think no running away from it. Like female founders hiring female founders, hiring female employees. I think that's also some sort of a comfort level that okay, I'm more comfortable with working with females. That I think also translates into the male aspect as well. But I think since male are already dominant in the field, the men should take the responsibility to add more women in the workplace, into leadership positions, and so on, to bring more equity and bring diversity in the perspectives into what they're building. So that's really important, and the effort needs to go in from the male counterpart because they are the one holding the power currently, and this needs to flow from there. But I do think like women like you are like totally taking the power in your own hands and building the ecosystem, which is
Well,
great to see.
yeah, I mean, and that's the great thing about EIS investing. It is individuals investing their own money. We don't have to wait for institutions to come along, and building those relationships can take years, and making those funds happen. EIS, we're raising it from individuals, and there is no similar fund on the market that is for moderately wealthy investors to invest, and we're hoping it will particularly appeal to women. I know that angels in our network are very motivated by the idea of backing other women, and we know there are other women out there that would like to do the same. So that's the fantastic thing about EIS, amazing tax benefits for individuals.
Absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. I think you'd find interest not just from women who want to back other women, but I think there are a good bunch of men who want to
And
take that initiative
yeah,
and get more women in the workplace and back women founders, female
yeah.
founders.
No, we're
So I
definitely
think
seeing that
yeah,
as well.
yeah. So building the EIS fund. Talk about why now is a good time and how will this impact the landscape. How will that bring about a change?
Okay, so it's something we've been planning for a long time, and we've launched it with our partners, Syndicate Room. So they are the FCA regulated fund managers. We're the investment people, so we find the opportunities and do the due diligence. So we have been thinking about it for a long time, but now the timing felt good because we know that before too long there is some more money going to be coming into the ecosystem earmarked for female founders. It's typically distributed to investors who are later stage than us. So we thought there was a particular opportunity to uh, participate more aggressively at the pre-seed and seed level. So once these funds come down the line, then we'll have a bunch of startups who are ready to pitch to them, and hopefully win the follow-on funding that's so hard to come by at the moment.
Absolutely. And would you like to share any portfolio success story or the startups that you bagged and what they're up to today?
So one of the companies that we've invested in, that we talk about in our fund materials as well, is a company called Fertility. They've developed a fertility device which is a competitor to IVF, but it's a fraction of the cost. You do it at home, and it requires no horrible hormone injections or anything. And they're showing the same efficacy rates as IVF. So it's been launched as a direct-to-consumer offering in the UK, but very exciting. They've just had FDA approval to enter the US market, and they are kind of becoming a full-service online, a virtual fertility care practice, and poised to enter the US market. So we're really positive about them, very excited. We backed them in their very first round 2020 and have participated a couple of times since. So we've we're expecting good things from them. And it's a wonderful social impact as well, because we've seen all these babies being born. We get pictures shared with us as part of the investor community. And, it's really changing people's lives.
Absolutely, yeah, totally. Great work there. Uh, and you've leveraged about 150 million plus in co-investments, right? What have you learned about supporting founders through different growth stages?
So we think it's 200 million now. So we keep kind of re-adding that up. So I think the kind of the biggest learning I've had over the years since, first starting as an angel investor is that it's a marathon, not a sprint. You have to keep supporting your businesses, keep cheerleading for them. Um, you know, uh, Good exits take a long time. The early exits tend to be modest. I've also learned that to be successful as an angel, you need to focus your money on capital efficient businesses. Our check sizes are relatively small. So we want businesses that can get a long way with not very much money. But also the capital efficiency bit is difficult because follow on investment, next rounds are not going to be easy. So they need to be able to maximize that. And I think another lesson, really sadly, still in 2025, the biggest determiner of investment success is whether you're a male CEO or not. That seems to be the biggest single factor if you read all the data. But we hope that things are finally changing. There's certainly a lot more discussion about it and awareness of the challenges.
Absolutely, yeah. I think I completely agree with you that okay, the situation is not great right now, and I think we keep saying that okay, we need to do something, but I think the time is now, and everyone should start, do a dedicated meeting on the subject with their partner group. That okay, how do we improve the situation? Come up with strategies. How do we do that and implement them right away? Right. I think that's the need of the hour.
Yeah,
Uh,
and it's the doing that's important, not just the talking, because we've had a lot of
exactly.
talking.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Completely agree with you. And I think practices like, dedicated procedures for sourcing specifically female founders, high quality, of course. I think some of those practices, those are the kind of things that you can do to play a part in this, right? So moving to the next question, which is around AI, which is the rates right now. How do you look at that impacting for the startup landscape for female founders and the angel investing process as well?
Okay. I mean, I think we're all using AI, aren't we, in some way in our business to be more productive, hopefully, although I find it can be quite a big time sink as well. So, I'm using it to help draft emails and articles. I use it to summarize my meetings and record actions and things. So there are some fantastic tools, and I think everyone's starting to use those. But on the the startup side, obviously we've been seeing AI and machine learning businesses for a long time, but that's only just accelerated. They're becoming more specialized, aren't they? It's not just a general AI tool for everyone. It's now AI driven fintech businesses or health tech businesses or an ed tech that's AI. So it's a very exciting time. In terms of the investing process, I mean, there are some tools for assessing startups and things, but a lot of these companies are still young. There's not that much data. We're also into building relationships with our founders, so we don't rely entirely on AI. But one of our founders told us about a tool, and it kind of summarizes, that, and it's kind of high level criteria like, founder market fit or product market fit and things like that. So certainly can help accelerate due diligence, but I think since so much is about the team, it's kind of, we still emphasize building those relationships, and how the founders kind of interact with us tells us so much about how they're going to run their business and get on in the future.
Absolutely, yeah. Relationships have been always the driving force of the venture capital industry, and it seems that that is the thing that's going to prevent it from getting disrupted and replaced by AI making all the investments, because relationships are still, at least for now, not automated by AI.
And
We'll see what
also,
happens in the future. Yeah,
AI's kind of pattern recognition again, isn't it? So you would probably find worse gender bias. Most AIs are created by men, aren't they? And then, because most investment has gone into male founders in the past, it will probably be repeated in the future. So, we have got to be careful about adopting this technology. And I would love to see more women building AI businesses, because we need that um, diversity in the code,
yeah.
don't we?
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. I think that's a very crucial point you made there, that if you're training the AI models on our current thinking and our current database, then it's also very likely that it's also going to pick up our biases and it's going to just behave the same way that we have been all along. And it's not that we have been behaving perfectly in all these respects, right? Like one being that the bias to back male founders versus female founders. I think that can be picked up. So I think uh, uh, the people who are training AI models, whether they're men or women, need to make sure that it's only being trained on the right data and not taking up the wrong biases. There are guardrails in place and all sort of things. I'm
Yeah,
sure
yeah,
all these big companies would be thinking on those sort of things, but I'm also sure that there'll be missteps and things they would miss and just get through
yeah,
because they want to launch soon, right? And so many things happening
of
so
course.
quickly.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
blind spots. Everyone's got blind spots, haven't they? So these mistakes creep in quite easily.
absolutely. I completely agree. And being an investor for so long now, what have been your primary learnings about helping these businesses build and seeing their successes and failures, or learnings about founders, or what type of founders tend to succeed versus what type of founders that tend to not succeed? Give us your learnings that you acquired over the years.
Yeah, I mean, there is an element of luck involved, meeting the right people at the right time. Timing is crucial. If you had a certain type of business during the pandemic, however brilliant you were, it was going to be tough, wasn't it? So I think there is a strong element of chance still. But, I think the sort of certain personality traits, risk tolerant for a start. People A people person, they've got to be able to build and manage teams and attract good talent. They need to be kind of ruthlessly well organized and efficient. They need to be kind of transparent and act with integrity, because I think that will, those values kind of translate into the business and how you deal with everybody in your business as well as stakeholders. Ferociously hardworking, able to defer kind of a decent salary now for potential rewards in the future. Um, yeah, I mean, sort of, they are incredible people. I'm in awe. I'm in awe of them, and you know, uh, yeah, yeah. Our economy depends on them, doesn't it? The future success of our economy. These are the people that are creating the new growth businesses and hiring. However efficient we can be with AI, we will still need to hire people and hire skilled people. So um, they create the jobs of the future.
Absolutely, completely agree. Uh, Talking about your vision for Angel Academy,
Okay.
where do you see it going in the next 5 years?
Certainly within the next 5 years, I expect to see some exits from our portfolio. Most of them have been in the last few years, most of our investments. So that would be good. I would love to see more women investing with us, as well as more women in VCs. It's a trend that started because I do think that that's a massive contributor to rebalancing how investment decisions are made, who it goes to. And I would love to see women dominating the lists of all the top founders, tech founders, in the sectors that haven't traditionally been dominated by women in the past, so in the tech sectors, as well as the more typically female areas, in kind of, retail and fashion and beauty and things like that. So we have lots in our portfolio that are building solutions to problems in healthcare and the delivery of healthcare, in fintech, in education, healthcare, etc. So
Absolutely. So in one of our earlier episodes, I remember we had Eunice Ajim on our podcast, who's an African American venture capitalist, and she said that to improve inclusivity, we'll need to need inclusivity across the entire chain of venture capital, which starts right at the LP level. That we need more allocators who are women, and
yeah,
then we need more VCs who are more women, right? And then again at the founder level as well. I think that entire chain needs to work out because, like you said, more female founders tend to hire more female employees. So when that
yeah,
happens, what that does is that those female employees are one day going to become founders, and then maybe as they progress, maybe you're VC one day or allocator someday. I think that entire chain,
yeah,
actually needs more women participation. So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
important. Absolutely. So, moving to a rapid fire round, wherein I'll ask you 6 quick questions about the investing you're doing,
Ooh,
and
yeah.
you have to give 6 quick answers. All right. So, the first one is, what are the sectors and regions you invest in?
So we're investing in the UK, across the UK. So all have to be UK based to be EIS qualifying. Sectors, it's technology and science based companies. So fintech, health tech, ed tech. We do some consumer tech. We have done some cybersecurity, and enterprise SaaS is always popular as well.
Awesome. What's the typical stage where you invest?
Pre-seed to seed. Oh, I forgot to mention clean tech, of course. That's a big category for us.
Right. Awesome. Do you lead rounds?
We do occasionally, um, but usually we're not the biggest ticket, and the biggest ticket usually leads. But we always co-invest alongside other partners. We work closely with them on rounds. So
Got it. Awesome. What's the typical check size?
it varies. So each of our investors makes their own decision on a deal by deal basis. We aim to get over 100,000 into each business, and it will be more, obviously, once the EIS fund comes on stream. Um, so yeah, 100 is what we target. It has gone much higher than that. Sometimes it dips a bit low, but a bit lower. But what we do is we're very transparent with the founders, and if it's not going to be a huge amount of money and they'd rather spend their time elsewhere, we let them know. So we, we try to keep
Yeah.
it efficient for everybody and transparent.
Yeah, absolutely. Where can founders get in touch in case there's a direct way?
So we ask everyone to apply via our website because we want everyone to, same, it's open to everybody. So even if somebody's referred to us, we normally ask them to fill in the form on our website as well. And the form captures the information that our investors typically ask us that isn't always in the deck. So the form is really important to us. We then have a screening and selection process which involves some of our, what we call our lead angel investors. So they're active angels, or they might be subject matter experts in a particular area. So they are involved in the process of screening the companies. If you get through the screening stages, then the next step is to come and pitch to the full network. So we then try and socialize your opportunity as widely as possible amongst those 1,000 registered investors, not just the 10 or so that are on the screening call.
Yeah,
And then,
absolutely.
there's a structured due diligence process that we undertake as a group of angels, and by the end of it, with a fair wind, there's a decent commitment from our angels.
Absolutely, quite interesting. Thanks for sharing that. Moving to the last question of the rapid fire round, which is where can our listeners find you and follow you?
Well, I'm trying to be active on LinkedIn, not as active as I'd like, but they can find me on LinkedIn. Founders, please just come to the website, because it will be your fastest way into our pipeline. We'll see you quickest that way. We've obviously got a website which has information about the EIS fund, but there's also information about the EIS fund on the Syndicate Room website. So that's where you need to go to download the documents. But yeah, please do get in touch one way or another. We'd love to hear from people.
Awesome. I'll make sure to put those links in the show notes below. Thanks so much for making time for this, Sarah. It's been great talking to you. I wish you happy
And
investing.
thank you as well. Thank you for some great questions.
Thank you. My pleasure. Have a great day.